Thanks for having me, man.
Kicking off your SDID tour. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about that and the mountain of ideas that you're about to unleash on us.
Right, so I just have so many tracks that I've produced that don't necessarily need to get released, or there's just such a quantity of music that I haven't released. So it's like, there's no better way to give it to the fans than a live setting, you know. So I'm going to be playing like 2 to 3, sometimes 4-hour sets on this tour, and say 99% or 100% my own music in the whole set. Play some classics, stuff that everyone knows, and then a bunch of stuff I'm working on currently, or maybe some tracks I made 3 years ago, or a track I made last year. Like, who knows? You know, I don't even know what I'm going to play. I'm going to just start playing. Yeah.
So I'm guessing that like each night of the tour is going to be pretty different because you're just going to get into it and see where it goes.
Completely different. You know, I grew up from a producing and DJing background, kind of separately. Like, I grew up DJing in like 5th or 6th grade. I started DJing, so I was playing all these school parties and stuff. So really learned how to kind of read a crowd and just wing it every set. Like, I get anxious when I plan sets, so I stop planning. I don't plan sets now.
So going from then as like a kid just doing this out of love and DJing, and then like on this big tour, is it a little bit surreal for you?
It is absolutely surreal, and I'm like tremendously grateful for this. This is you know what I dreamt of doing when I was 12 years old. So it's like I couldn't be more grateful to be doing this like as a job now. You know,
yeah,
it's pretty cool.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about like your creative process when you're producing music and like kind of where you draw inspiration from and what it's like for you to create a track?
Yeah, totally. I'll usually sit down and I'll try to get the kind of melodic part of the track done first. That's what Avicii actually taught me that. He said he always would start with the melody first, and I was like, that's a really good idea. You know, well, maybe I'll do a groove here and there, but if the melody isn't there, the track's not going to be there. So the melodic content has to be right. So I'll usually get the kind of melody stuff, and then I'll just add a bunch of layers or just a bunch, just kind of stream of consciousness, just like kind of adding and adding and adding. And then I'll kind of take a step back. Then I go through a process of deleting, and then that's how I finish my tracks. I delete a lot of stuff. That's how I work.
Got it. And so we all know that you have tons of tracks laying around. That's the point of the tour.
Yeah.
So do you oftentimes kind of like finish a project and then just like let it sit and then move on to the next thing and just like wait for the right opportunity to either go back to that track or just
sometimes tracks, you know, take me a day to write. Like, I'll start in the morning, and by the afternoon I'll be like done with the track, and I'm just like, it doesn't need anything else. I'll just bounce it and play it, you know. But sometimes it'll take 3 months. I have a remix for Deadmau5 coming out in maybe a month now, and that took 4-ish months to get perfect.
Okay.
Some tracks take 4 hours and I'm finished, you know. So there's no really. Sometimes I return ideas. I started something 4 years ago and I didn't know how to produce quite like I do now. So I'll go back to that idea and tweak it up.
And also just with like a fresh mindset, you're able
exactly.
to
like rehash. I rehash a lot of ideas. Like, where the idea was there, but it wasn't executed right. I'll take that and I'll re-execute it now with my production knowledge. I think
awesome.
That's a fun way to do it.
Now, jumping into Miami, congrats on Ultra.
Oh, thanks for that.
So can you talk a little bit about your excitement for performing at Ultra and this year's Miami Music
Again,
Festival?
I'm so grateful for this opportunity because, you know, when I was a teenager, I would watch the Ultra live stream, like from my bedroom, you know, like, it's like, I hope I can go to Ultra sometime. Then when I turned 18, I started going to Ultra every year, just like year after year after year, and then here we are, and we're playing this year, and I can't even express how grateful I am.
So for you as a fan that attended this festival, this is like the festival for you that you like, of all the US festivals.
This was my first, I think. Well, this Ultra and EDC were the 2 first festivals I went to, and thankful to have played EDC, and I'm about to play Ultra. Like, it's a dream come true, really.
Yeah, awesome. So who is an artist that you like most look up to in the industry? Either from a pure like artistic perspective or from like any sort of like mentorship or kind of career-oriented thing?
Well, I mean, I think I like to take from a lot of different artists. There's no really like one person I can, you know, nail out, because I think everyone has something to learn from on the table, you know. Like, I've learned a lot from Above and Beyond, from touring with them so much, and then I've learned a lot from, you know, people who I haven't toured with, like Chris Liebing, for example, and like some of the much harder techno stuff. I learned so much about flow and of sets and mixing, and like I listen to a lot of like really kind of dark techno to learn, because their mixing techniques are so spot on in those tracks, because it's all about the mix, you know?
Which is interesting because in trance, a lot of the music, a lot of the sets can be quite similar in that you've got these like anthems that are played out. But with you, you kind of have this niche, but you also love to mix it up in your sets, and that's what the techno guys are known for.
I heard Sasha in an interview one time. He was saying, you know, a good set should be like this. It should stack on each other. And I was like, that's so true. You know, you want to take the end of what you're mixing and like have the groove going and mix the next track into that groove and have that groove going. And it's like just layering track after. Instead of like, here's a track, here's another track, here's another track. It's like you're kind of, like Sasha said, it's great advice.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And now looking kind of the other direction at up-and-coming artists, who is an artist that you think we should be paying attention to this year?
Well, I have a couple collaborations with two of my favorite kind of up-and-comers. One is Kyurine. She's a Japanese producer. She lives in SF. She lives right down the street from me, and we've made like 5 or 6 records together. She's a great friend of mine now. You know, she's so dope. And like when I met her for the first time, I was like, oh my god, I like really like your music, you know. And then she was like, let's hit the studio sometime. And we hit the studio, and our chemistry is amazing, you know. And she's the greatest girl too. I love her, you know. So Kyurine is amazing, and then on the techno side, a guy named Reito, who just toured with Ritual Self. Like he's so talented. We did a track together. It's coming out on Mousetrap in a couple months. It's a pretty. It's one of my IDs from my 300 set, like one of the kind of harder IDs. ABGT 300. Sorry, I didn't clarify that. Like it's set from Hong Kong.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's insanely talented on the techno front. We had really cool chemistry because I come from a more progressive house background. He comes from a purely techno background, so I kind of was doing some melodic stuff and doing some progressive house kind of techniques in the track, and he was coming from this like raw, like French techno thing, and it turned out to be a really cool track. And
awesome.
We'll probably play it tonight, you know.
Yeah, test it out.
So yeah, those two I think are insanely talented.
Cool.
Yeah, really good.
All right, a couple more questions.
Yeah.
What do you like most about performing in DC?
Here, I mean, everyone's just so passionate about the music, and the energy is always off the chain here. You know, there's never a moment where I'm just kind of playing. I'm like, wow, you know, they're not feeling this. You know, everyone's like gives it their all. Everyone's like there. Everyone shows up and dances the whole time until you stop. And I really respect it here. You know, first time I played here was 2014. At Echo Stage, right around when it opened. I don't know, did it open 5 years ago? Yeah, right around when it opened. It was with Cassette and Swanky Tunes, I believe. It was like way back when, and it was like, I was like, this is amazing. Like that was the first tour I'd ever done.
So it's a good place to get your first taste.
Yeah. So like every time I return to DC, regardless of venue, you know, Soundcheck, Echo Stage, the crowd's always just phenomenal. You know, it's kind of effortless. It's just kind of playing tunes to your friends kind of vibe, you know?
Yeah. And last question, what are you like most excited about for 2019 looking ahead?
Well, we have a lot of amazing opportunities with shows coming up. I'm really looking forward to some. I don't know what's been announced and what hasn't been announced, so I don't want to like name drop anything, but there's some really exciting opportunities for shows. Then we have a lot of very diverse releases planned, you know, because I like to play quite long sets, like 3 or 4 hours is like a nice time for me, and I like to, you know, start with a bit deeper stuff first hour and move into more progressive, and then have like a darker period. And
so the releases will span kind of everything from
we have some like deep house stuff, actually some collabs with Kyurine forthcoming on Virginia Deep, and then we have the Reito collab, which is like a raw techno track on Mousetrap. Then some other stuff on another label I can't talk about, and then another exciting. I am working on my second album currently, so it's like a proper kind of progressive house, but it's a step forward from Illusion of Perfection. So I'm really trying to finalize it, you know, because you kind of writing the second album, you have to get it better than the first album, kind of thing. So it's like every time I'm like, here's a nice draft of an album. It's like, but like this doesn't work. This is delete it again and just kind of start over, reorganize. It'll be a mix album again, so seamless mix.
And when do you think that will be out? Later this year?
Later this year.
All right. All right, well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Yeah, that's great.